Terrible weather, massive crowds, missed opportunities. Not every day is a great day to visit Disney World. We've got some times of the year and sometimes when certain things happen that will ruin your Disney World trip altogether. We're going to talk about those today on DFB Guide. Hey everybody, it's AJ for Disney Food Blog. Now, it may feel like any time would be a good time to hit up the Disney World parks, especially when you're feeling burnt out at work or the kids are begging you to take them on a Mickey Mouse-centric vacation. But as it turns out, there are those occasional times when it is better to stay put rather than take a trip to the most magical place on Earth. Because if you time your visit wrong or if you go during certain happenings at the park, it may be anything but magical. But do not stress. Even if you do find yourself in Disney World during some of these rather inopportune times, we've got tips to help you make the most out of your time on property no matter what. Also, some of these times you might be super jazzed to go. I don't know. You do you. Let's talk about it. We're going to begin with an instance that's still pretty fresh in everybody's minds, and that is going to Disney World during a hurricane. I know you're more than likely not trying to pinpoint when a hurricane is threatening to pop up around Disney World to plan your trip, but hurricane season is really unpredictable in Florida, and it's really long. It ranges between June and November, and it tends to be more prominent around August and September, sometimes right into October, obviously. And when you have to plan a trip to Disney World 6 months in advance, a year in advance, you very well might find yourself in the midst of a rather intense tropical storm during the dates you chose. So does this mean you should immediately cancel any future Disney World trips that fall into that time frame? No. August and September are great times to hit up the parks, especially since this tends to be Disney's value season and lower crowds, etc. However, you will want to keep a careful watch on the upcoming forecasts during this time, just to make sure you're not caught off guard by those natural disasters. So let's break it down. If you learn that a hurricane is approaching to Disney World before your trip, don't be nervous to go ahead and cancel your plans or reschedule for a later date. If a hurricane warning is issued 7 days before your arrival date by the National Hurricane Center, or even if you learn that a hurricane warning is being issued in your neck of the woods, making travel conditions precarious, then as long as you've booked your room and tickets directly through Disney, you'll be able to cancel or reschedule your trip with no strings attached. That's their cancellation policy when it comes to hurricanes. Now, if you book through a third party and not directly through Disney, like with a site like Expedia or TripAdvisor, Disney's not going to be able to do anything for you. You'll have to bring up any cancellations or reschedulings with the third party agency you booked through instead. Okay, now if you're in Disney World during a hurricane, keep in mind that if the hurricane threat is strong enough, Disney will shut down its parks and the Disney Springs shopping district. Parks may also close early if the storm picks up during the day, like when you're still in the parks early. If that's the case, rides and attractions will close immediately, and a team of cast members called the Ride Out Crew will be available to help you exit the park as safely and quickly as possible. Don't worry though, Disney takes good care of the Ride Out Crew too, and make sure they got a place to stay and warm plates of food as they shelter from the storm. That's a volunteer opportunity for that Ride Out Crew. If you're staying at a Disney World hotel, you're going to be sitting pretty, considering these resorts are some of the safest places to ride out those massive storms in the Orlando area. Even locals will book rooms here, knowing good and well the structures are secure and there's a backup generator just in case the power goes out. Many of the restaurants stay open, but there will also be sack lunches or boxes available for you to purchase too. And to keep spirits high, the hotels will bring in characters for you for an afternoon of meet and greets in the resort lobbies. They may play games with people. It's really fun, even though you're in unfortunate circumstances and not spending the time in the parks that you plan to spend. And they may also make the arcade games free of charge to give guests something else to do indoors. If you're staying off property, that doesn't mean you're not as safe as you'd be in a Disney-owned resort. Places like the Holiday Inn Resort near Disney Springs will still keep their kitchens open so you can have a warm meal all day long, for a price, that is. But if you're tired of paying those high meal prices, this is another reason why packing non-perishable food items ahead of your trip could be important. Though we love using those grocery apps like Instacart and Amazon Fresh to get meals to our hotel in a jiffy, these apps will be bogged down with orders right before the storm kicks off, so your order could take lots longer to get to you than normal and may not get to you before the hurricane hits, period. The important thing to remember is to stay put. You don't want to endanger yourself or anyone with you by trying to drive against the storm to get back home. Flights are also a major headache to navigate around during hurricane season. Some flights may might cancel days before they were supposed to take off or give you extra time to rebook a different one for a later date. Or it might wait to cancel until it has to. Make sure you have the app of your airline downloaded to your phone so you can get instant notifications and text alerts sent to you when any movement happens that'll derail your future trip. And if you notice others around you are starting to get their flights canceled, but your flight still seems to be suspiciously on time, plan ahead anyway. Many airlines will go ahead and let you reschedule your flight without a fee. Not all, but many. So if you want to avoid the last-minute panic of rescheduling that flight, it's better to do so sooner rather than later so that you can book a hotel and figure out their circumstances if you're staying where you are. Now, for this next point, many still want to be in the Disney bubble, but not everyone, and that's for very good reasons. The next time you don't want to be in Disney World could be during a Run Disney race, if you're not racing. A handful of Disney World's busiest seasons come with a flashing neon warning sign. Spring break, you know it's going to be packed. Summer vacation, get ready for swarms of families. Christmas time, 'tis the season to feel claustrophobic. Get it? Yeah, that's a Bria. I don't know what to tell you. I love her. She's so funny. But then there are the busy seasons that come seemingly out of nowhere, like the Run Disney races. Run Disney races happen on several weekends throughout the year, with distances ranging from 5Ks to full marathons. Next year, you've got the 2023 Walt Disney World Marathon Weekend from January 4th to the 8th, the 2023 Disney Princess Half Marathon Weekend in February 23rd to 26th. I was there for that one last year. I was real busy. The Run Disney Springtime Surprise Weekend from April 13th to the 16th. And we've still got one more race to go this year, the Run Disney 2022 Wine and Dine Half Marathon, which is part of the Epcot Food and Wine Festival. That'll take place November 3rd through the 6th. If you sign up to be part of one of these Run Disney races, then you're going to be able to experience a fun and unique side of Disney, whether you decide to run the entire time or walk it. I have done these races. I have half run and half walked. That's kind of what I do. But suppose you don't want to participate in the races and you'd rather just experience the parks as is without all the extra physical activity. In that case, you may be in for a rather rude awakening if you plan your trip during a Run Disney event by accident. For starters, traffic is going to be majorly backed up the morning of the big races, more so than usual. The parks get very, very crowded with racers who are looking to celebrate in the parks after a race well done, and park hours could be strange. This is an attempt to adjust around the whole race schedule because they usually race through the parks early in the morning. So you may have to look at the Disney World Park Hours calendar on their website ahead of time and see what's going on. And notice how the Walt Disney World Marathon weekend is like right before Martin Luther King Jr. weekend. That means you'll more than likely experience back-to-back intense crowds during an otherwise quiet season in the parks. Because those 3-day weekends and holidays also tend to spike the crowd levels with guests looking for a quick weekend getaway. So what can you do if you happen to be vacationing during one of these sudden events that bring in the crowds? First, give yourself more travel time leeway than you think you may need. This has always been crucial advice for when you're planning on taking Disney's complimentary shuttle services everywhere, but now I'm also focusing on driving your own car too, or catching a rideshare even. I'd say give yourself at least 45 minutes of extra travel time to get from place to place during these crowded mornings, just in case. I personally have been in a minivan for like an hour just trying to get from a hotel to Magic Kingdom because of the traffic backup, because roads were blocked off when people were running. If you know it's going to be busy during your time in the parks, stay proactive before your trip. Book those hotel reservations, advanced dining reservations, and those park pass reservations as soon as possible. For dining, that'll be 60 days before the start of your visit, don't forget. This may also be the perfect time to bite the bullet and try the premium Disney Genie Plus service, which is going to give you lightning lanes, aka shorter line wait times, for most Disney rides. Genie Plus is $15 per person per day, and we find it extremely useful for parks like Magic Kingdom and Hollywood Studios on the obscenely busy days when certain lines could be pushing past that 2-hour wait time mark. You may also be interested in buying an a la carte lightning lane for Disney's most popular rides in each park, which will charge you per person per ride at a fluctuating price per day. Those can be really, really useful on those super crowded days, just saying. And lastly, if you have the option, try planning your trip after that 3-day weekend or the the Run Disney race wraps up. While everyone's busy heading home to return to their regularly scheduled work and school lives, you'll be ready to get your vacation started with much, much lower crowds and less hassle, hopefully. All right, since I already mentioned some of the busiest times of the year, how about we follow up with a point that goes hand in hand? These are the most expensive times of the year as well, and you may not want to be in Disney World during those. Later on in the video, I'm going to give you some fantastic budgeting tips that help the team and me immensely when we're planning our future trips, but for now, let's take a look at how you could potentially end up paying hundreds of dollars more on your vacation just because you planned it at a certain time of the year. Disney World can be broken up into 3 different seasons. There's value season, regular season, and peak season. Value season typically runs around the beginning of the year, January, February, and the back to school time, the end of August and September. This is when crowds mellow out, historically speaking. Peak seasons are the opposite. Crowds are at an all-time high and there are fluctuating prices, which is what we see during spring break, summer vacation, and the Christmas season. And then the regular seasons are everything else. The crowds are steady and the prices are about what you'd expect to pay on an average basis. So let's take a look at what a typical 5-day vacation bundle with a resort and 4 days worth of single-day park tickets would cost around each of these time frames for 2023. And to save us a little more money, we'll be looking at these prices while also staying in a standard value room at Disney's Pop Century Resort. All right, August 21st to the 2nd, a vacation package is going to cost around $3,380. That's value season, right? 5 nights, 4 days of single day park tickets. Between May 5th and 11th, which is the moderate time frame, a vacation package is going to cost around $3,960. So that's about $600 more than value season. And between December 22nd to the 28th, that peak holiday season, a vacation package is going to cost around $4,940. So there you are $1,300 higher than what you were during value season. So that's not just hundreds of dollars, that's potentially over $1,000 difference. I know that sometimes your travel schedule just can't help that, and you're going to have to book during a more expensive time of the year if you're going to go to Disney World at all. But because Disney prices are date-based, you may even find that the week before or the week after, or even a couple days before and after those sky-high prices could be potentially cheaper than other windows in the same month. So make sure to check all those potential options. Remember, Disney doesn't hide those initial price tags, so you should be able to see any prices for hotels and tickets whenever you're ready to start seriously looking. Now, are there any downsides to booking a Disney World vacation during a value season? Well, there's one major one I'm thinking of, and that's the next thing on our list of times you might not want to be in Disney World. That's right, everyone. Contradictions. Life is full of them. So the next time you might not want to be in Disney World is those value seasons when there are shortened hours. So just like Disney World prices, Disney World park hours aren't always consistent. Value season park hours seem to be typically shorter, maybe by an hour or 2, which isn't a whole lot, but it's still enough to be kind of a bummer if you're relying on the end of the night to hit up some final ride-throughs. But even during shortened value season hours, you'll still be able to experience the park's nighttime offerings, unlike you will if you time your visit on the day of an after-hours holiday party or a special event. We're currently in the midst of Magic Kingdom's after-hours party season. Right now, we're coming to the end of Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party, and once November rolls around, we'll start seeing Mickey's Very Merry Christmas Party pop up on certain dates until the end of December. Holiday parties are a lot of fun. You get to see exclusive shows, meet rare characters, try limited time treats, get in line for rides with shorter waits, and you can purchase tickets for Mickey's Very Merry Christmas Party now on the Disney World website to join in on the nighttime festivities. But if you don't have a ticket for the holiday party and you're just at Magic Kingdom for a regular daytime visit, your park day will be extremely short and you'll have to leave once 6 p.m. rolls around. Even if you try to linger in the parks after 6 p.m. as a non-party guest, you won't be allowed to ride any of the rides if you don't have a party wristband to show the cast members at the front of the line. Fortunately, you won't have to worry about having your Magic Kingdom evening interrupted every day that you visit in December. The parties are only available on certain nights, which you can find on the Disney World park calendar on their website ahead of time. You'll also be able to find out if any other Disney World parks will have to close much earlier than they normally do by checking out this calendar, since Magic Kingdom isn't the only park that has the tendency to cut time short. Every now and then, a park will have to cut down its hours because of a private event or a cast member training. They'll post signs about early closures toward the front of the parks, which is a not so subtle reminder, but if you don't learn about these shortened hours until the day you arrive, that reminder could turn into a real unpleasant surprise. This doesn't happen too often, but it does happen, so before you make your park pass reservations, make sure they don't connect with those rare times that you'll be forced to leave the parks before the sun sets. If your goal is to have as much time in the parks as humanly possible, then a summertime Disney vacation could actually work in your favor. Disney tends to have more extended hours during their busier seasons to give folks more time to ride those rides that have the killer wait times during the day. And you can also use your early theme park entry benefit if you're staying at any of the Disney World hotels to get an extra 30 minutes of park time in the morning before the parks open. Or if you're staying at a deluxe resort, you got that extended evening hours on select nights for certain parks to get an hour or two longer in the parks after they close. But if you do happen to time your visit on the exact day a park closes early, it's not the end of the world. Many times a park with shortened hours means you'll have fewer crowds to worry about, so you may be able to hit up all the rides you were wanting to even without the extra nighttime buffer. You'll just have to miss out on fireworks shows, which can be a bummer. Or you may want to consider getting a park hopper that day. That way, when a park has to close early, you can just hop over to another park that stays open later for more Disney shenanigans. You can keep that party rolling. Okay, ready for a day that you weren't expecting to see on this list? Brace yourself. You don't want to be in Disney World right after the Super Bowl. If you've ever watched a Super Bowl game in your life, even just for the commercials, then you know the drill. An interviewer is going to ask one of the winning members of the team, "You just won the Super Bowl. What are you going to do next?" And that football player will proudly exclaim, "I'm going to Disney World." And you know what? They ain't kidding. They really do go to Disney World. After the Super Bowl, the winning MVP is invited into the Magic Kingdom, and then there's this huge celebratory parade that'll pack out the park. And in a way, this can be a pretty thrilling event to be a part of, particularly if it's your team that's the one being showered with Disney love and attention that day. But having Super Bowl winners inside the park also means a day's worth of filming, and that means there'll be big sections of the park potentially blocked off. And this is also the case when the Disney Christmas Special is being recorded to broadcast on Christmas morning. Spoiler alert, the Disney Christmas Special you see on December 25th is not happening live most of the time. It's actually pre-recorded, and this pre-recording usually happens in November or early December. It's super cool to be part of such an epic event, but it can also be a hassle if you weren't planning on being a part of it. There are parts of the park blocked off, huge stages erected in front of the castle to prevent you from getting your ideal photo, and a thrown-off Disney World schedule in general that differs from a typical park day. But that being said, there will be celebrities you can spot throughout the park and multiple once-in-a-lifetime holiday performances to experience. So it really all depends on your point of view. Is this a major bummer, or did you just accidentally stumble upon the best Disney party ever? Well, if these massive crowds and thrown-off schedules are a big deterrent for you, you may want to wait until after the big Super Bowl hype dies down or later on in November to plan your Disney World trip. Now, there are times when you don't want to be in Disney World that you don't have much control over. Times that sneak up on you during a fun-filled family vacation and make things not so fun anymore. We've all experienced this here on the DFB team. And that's when you get sick. If I have aches, pains, a fever, any symptoms that don't make me feel like my normal happy-go-lucky self, I want to be at home, in bed, with chicken noodle soup on the nightstand and a hot tea in my hands, while Price is Right is playing reruns in the background. I do not want to be in Disney World. So when you get sick in Disney World, the last thing you're going to want to do is stand in line for rides, eat a bunch of greasy food, or be out in the sun for long periods of time. In fact, you shouldn't be doing that. You should be in your hotel room in bed, protecting others from catching whatever you've come down with. But what else can you do when you're feeling under the weather on Disney property? You've got options. First and foremost, if you're really sick, like your fever won't break and we won't get gross, but you're really sick, then you're going to need to see a doctor. There are urgent care options outside of the Disney bubble, and if you're really, really sick, you'll need to make an emergency visit to the closest ER. There are several Advent Health wellness centers that are only minutes away from Disney property. And speaking of them, Advent Health has partnered with Disney to provide you with healthcare services directly through the My Disney Experience app. You can schedule a virtual healthcare visit through the app as long as you're dealing with a non-urgent medical concern, and that way you can have a doctor's appointment without ever having to leave your hotel room. But there's another way to schedule a doctor's appointment without having to leave your comfy hotel bed. The recently launched Doctor to Me program is a house call service that brings a doctor to you, makes medical treatment faster and easier to handle than an hours-long wait at the ER or urgent care center. And this program doesn't just cater to Disney World guests. It also reaches out to Good Neighbor Hotel guests and Universal Studios guests and even Disneyland guests. You can make an appointment anytime and any day of the week by going to the Doctors to Me website and clicking on the Get Care button. Now, I haven't used these folks personally, but it is an option that's out there if you're interested in using it. And if you find yourself getting sick while you're still in a Disney World park, there are first aid centers located at each of the parks that can help with, again, non-emergency medical situations. So like getting you an ice pack or some over-the-counter meds to help get rid of a ride-induced headache. If you're starting to feel faint because of dehydration, head to the first aid center. They will get you sat down, they'll get you cold water, and you can relax and overcome what's going on. Now, of course, if the situation is an emergency, please call 911. That's it. That's the answer. If you need help now, get help now. And if you don't have a phone or if you can't dial, please let a cast member know. But let's say your situation isn't as serious. You're pretty sure you know exactly what you're dealing with here. Maybe you got about a food poisoning, or you got a little too dehydrated, or you got a little bug that takes you down with all the sneezing and sniffles, or you drank too much around the World Showcase, which also happens. Sure, you don't plan on these things happening to you or anyone in your group, but that's why it's so important to factor in a rest day sometime during your vacation. That way you can take the time you might need to rest up and recoup without pushing yourself through another intense park day and ultimately making things worse. If you don't feel well, stay back in the room. If you let yourself take the time you need to rest, you'll be ready to go faster. And it's also okay to wave the white flag while you're in the middle of a park day. There's no shame in telling your group you're going to head back to the hotel to rest up a little bit. If you end up feeling better after some much needed AC and an hour-long nap, you can always reconvene with them later on. Okay, let's get out of the fog of sickness and onto matters we can actually control. You may not want to be in Disney World when a ride, a land, or a restaurant first opens. Now, I get it. The appeal of being one of the first people to experience a certain side of Disney World before anyone else is tantalizing. We're talking bragging rights for life. You get that I was there pin, right? But with this appealing concept also comes a heavy dose of reality. It may not be the first experience you were dreaming it'd be. When it comes to new rides, your spot in line is not guaranteed. And recently, Disney World has implemented that virtual queue system for its newest rides. This prevents physical queue lines from being like 5 hours long, which, come on, you don't really want to wait that long on a single ride and waste your whole day. And it also gets rid of a standby line for a new ride period. So if you aren't able to get a spot in the virtual queue, then you're out of luck. The boarding groups for these virtual queues only open up twice a day, once at 7 a.m. and once at 1 p.m. usually. And they're filled up within seconds, especially for those super popular brand new rides. We do have a DFB post all about tips for improving your chances at grabbing one of those virtual queues or boarding groups, and I'll post that in the description below. But the thing to take away from the virtual queue system currently is that there's a chance you won't get into that queue. Not just a chance, but a good chance, especially on the day a ride first opens. And that can be super disappointing if riding the newest ride was the whole reason you went to Disney World. And let's say you do get into the virtual queue, yay you, that's a huge feat. There is the potential now that the ride may not be everything you hoped and dreamed it would be, because it could experience lots of technical difficulties or go down for long periods of time. That may sound pessimistic, and your ride through may be just fine and dandy and make you tear up a little bit, but the new rides are still getting the hang of constantly carrying multiple guests all day long, so there can definitely be glitches and problems. It also depends on how involved some of these new rides are. With new trackless dark rides like Remy's Ratatouille Adventure in Epcot and Rise of the Resistance, Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, we've seen these rides have more frequent breakdowns than, say, the Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind coaster, just because those trackless ride systems are a bit more sensitive. Now, when it comes to new lands, 4 words: things will be packed. Take Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, for instance. That place is still popping, but not at all like it was during the opening day at Disney's Hollywood Studios. We're talking major crowd management where you had to wait in a massive line, not just to get in line for the ride, but to get into the land itself. And when it first opened, the entire land wasn't even completely finished. Rise of the Resistance wasn't going to open for another 4 months. So although it's so cool to finally walk into a new area of the park for the first time, especially one as detailed and extensive as Galaxy's Edge, or even Pandora, World of Avatar, that expansion that we got in Disney's Animal Kingdom back in 2017, the suspension of disbelief is a little more difficult to maintain when you feel smushed against hundreds of other people. Personally, I think a first walkthrough is much better when the dust settles. These areas may still be busy, but at least you'll get that wow factor moment to yourself instead of being shuffled quickly into the area like a sheep in a herd. And when it comes to new restaurants, not only will advanced dining reservations be tricky to snag and you'll really have to watch your calendar and make sure you're aiming to get a reservation as soon as your advanced dining reservation window opens, 60 days before your trip at 5:45 Eastern. But if you do get a reservation for a new restaurant, there is the potential of service being slower, just because, like with everything, there's a learning curve. It's one thing to learn about all the ins and outs of serving and trying it out during a soft opening or a cast member opening, but it's another thing entirely for your tables to be filled, double, triple, quadruple sat even, during a full park date with lots of hungry guests. The important thing here is to set your expectations if you're still wanting to be one of the first people to experience a whole new side of Disney World during the attraction's opening days. And make sure you've still got a whole bunch of other stuff to fill up your vacation besides relying fully on this new experience to make or break your trip. I think you get it, right? Right. Now, there is a small window of time when one of the parks isn't going to be as exciting as it usually is all year long, and that park is sweet Epcot. We're going to talk about visiting the parks in between festivals. Now, I love Epcot Festivals, love them. They're one of my favorite things to experience in Disney World, which is why we've got those Best of the Fest videos that come with every new festival. And we have our full festival digital guidebooks for sale over there at dfbstore.com, because we can't shut up about them. Each Epcot Festival has a specific theme, and within that theme, there are a lot of food booths to try. There are performances to watch. There are hands-on activities to experience. So there are 4 festivals throughout the year. Festival of the Arts, which we of course call FARTS, as you know, happens around January and February. Flower and Garden Festival kicks off during March and lasts till the beginning of July. Food and Wine Festival picks up mid-July and runs till mid-November. And then we wrap up the year with the Festival of the Holidays, which lasts until the end of December. So you'd think that range would cover the entire year. And for the most part, it does. But there are weeks, or sometimes 2 weeks, of downtime between festivals. As one festival comes to an end, the park starts preparing for the next. So here's an upcoming example. Food and Wine will be wrapping things up on November 19th, but Festival of the Holidays isn't going to start until November 25th, meaning you got 6 days where a festival isn't happening. If festivals really aren't your scene, then this may not be a huge deal for you, but if you want to go to all the different food booths and listen to those exclusive performances and just revel in the fun energy of these events, then you need to make sure you know exactly how long these festivals last. Don't just assume a festival will be happening when you're there, because you might just hit that awkward time frame when not a lot's going on at the moment. All right, so this next time you don't want to be in Disney World can be a very hard pill to swallow, but it does need to be said. And that's when you're not financially prepared to go to Disney World. As we know, Disney World is a huge investment. It's one thing to see all the new and exciting rides and shows and restaurants and to want to be part of that world, but it's another to plan a budget and get the bill for this huge trip. There are a lot of factors to consider other than the standard purchasing of the hotel room, the tickets, the airfare. How many people will be going with you on this vacation? Will you be able to split costs with other people, or will you be solely financially responsible for how the trip plays out? Does the time of year you're looking to go fall into value season or peak season? How many table service restaurants do you want to eat at? How many parks do you want to go to? How long do you want to be in the Disney bubble in general? And are you going to stay in an expensive hotel, or are you going to do an Airbnb? Or are you going to do a less expensive hotel outside of property? Disney World can be a really good time, but if you're stressed about how much money you're spending during the whole thing, then you're going to find yourself less willing to buy another Mickey-shaped food item and more willing to cut your vacation short. So how about I spout off some ways you can budget for your trip ahead of time and take some of that unwanted stress off your plate. Budget tip number 1, look into other hotel options. Even Disney World's value resorts can be a pain to pay for. Check on Disney's Good Neighbor hotels, which partner with Disney to give guests similar Disney resort benefits at a usually cheaper cost. 2, if you have a rewards membership for a certain line of hotels, like Marriott, for instance, and you can use rewards and earn points for Marriott stays in or around the Disney World property, or like Hilton or whatever. Budget tip number 2, strategize your add-on purchases. Not every additional cost is necessary to have a really successful and fun Disney World trip. You may be able to save money just by opting out of things like Park Hopper tickets, Disney Genie Plus, Magic Bands, or really pricey character dining experiences. Number 3, consider a shorter trip. 3 to 4 days in the Disney bubble can be just as much fun and just as fulfilling as a full week's worth of vacation time. Not to mention, you'll be spending less on your hotel stay and your food purchases and your tickets. I like to take these little trips when I want to see Disney World around the holidays, but not necessarily commit to an entire Disney World trip. Budget tip 4, check on Disney World's special offers, deals, and discounts. This is an oldie but a goodie. Every now and then, the Disney World website will post a vacation package deal that can help you save money on your overall hotel and ticket purchases. In fact, they always have a discount on their website, no matter what. So even if you find a discount after you purchase your Disney package, you'll still be able to apply that discount. Just go to the My Plans section of the Disney World website and find your reservation. From there, you should be able to modify it to apply a discount, but if you're coming up dry, you can always call the Disney Resort Hotel Reservations line, 407-939-1936, and see if they can apply it for you. Budget tip 5, give yourself some time. Sometimes finding a budget that works for you means giving yourself time to save up. And that means you could end up needing another year before you make that leap into these big vacation investments. And that's a-okay. It's much better to feel financially comfortable with a good amount of safety net funds than to jump right into a trip that's going to put a whole lot of stress on your bank account and you when you return home. It's just not as much fun to be in Disney World when you're stressing about how much you're spending. All right, same rules apply for this next point. It's hard to hear, but important to understand. And that's that you don't want to be in Disney World when you're not mentally prepared for it. You know, we can't control every aspect of our Disney World vacation. We can't control external circumstances going on around us. Sometimes tragedies happen or life-altering experiences happen. And even though months ago you were looking forward to this epic Disney World trip, suddenly your heart's just not in it anymore. That's okay. It's okay to want to slam on the brakes and not force yourself to be cheery and pretend everything is glitter and rainbows. Even though Disney World can be an escape for some, it may become a heavy burden for others in the midst of other dark times. So let's talk about some cancellation policies here real quick if this is just not the right time for you to go. Disney's current policy regarding hotel room-only reservations is that you can cancel with no penalty up to 5 days before the first day of your stay. If you have to cancel after that window of time, you won't be able to receive a full refund. However, if you think you'll be more prepared for a Disney World vacation in the future, you can always choose to modify your stay instead, and Disney may be able to help you choose a better date for you. And also, vacation packages do work a little differently from that. You have to cancel your reservation for a vacation package, which includes your tickets and your hotel, within 30 days of your first day of your stay to get a full refund on your trip. For cancellations made 2 days to 29 days prior to your arrival, a refund will be issued minus a cancellation fee of $200 per package. Just don't wait until the last minute to make that cancellation, because cancellations made 1 day or less prior to guest arrival means you're going to lose everything you paid for the trip with no trip to show for it. Same sort of rules apply when it comes to a Disney dining reservation. Each Disney World restaurant has its own cancellation policy, but most will allow you to cancel 24 hours before your reservation. If you need to cancel on the day of, though, you may very well be charged with the cancellation fee, usually $10 per guest. If you want to learn more about Disney World's cancellation policies, we've got a whole DFB post getting into all the details for you. I'll link it down below. And now for a time of year that many Disney World guests have to visit during even though they don't want to. And that is when it's very, very, very hot. A summer vacation in Orlando is not for the faint of heart. Peak average temperatures for the Orlando area are 91 degrees in July, and we're talking a wet, humid 91 degrees, which makes it kind of feel like it's 115. Temperatures are usually more manageable after October and until the end of the spring season, ranging between 72 and 82 degrees instead. But for many folks, summer is the time they can visit the parks. After all, the kids are out of school, so you don't have to worry about them missing out on anything while they're gone. If you plan on going to Disney World during those super hot days, there's my tried and true list for keeping cool despite the relentless sun. First of all, hydrate. I know how often I say this. I know, but no matter how many times I throw it out there, there's still going to be a bunch of people that wind up in the parks going, I'm feeling woozy and sick. I'm going to faint. When's the last time I had any water? So grab those free water cups from quick service locations or bring along your refillable water bottle. Number 2, plan a pool day. If you've got a break day scheduled into your vacation, find the hottest day out of that week and use it to check out your hotel pool. I honestly can't tell you how many times I've been in the park and I've seen like a fountain and I've really wanted to jump into it. So if you have a hotel pool to jump into, make sure you plan the time to do it. You can book sit-down restaurants for the afternoon. That's a great way to have a nice meal and sit in an air-conditioned building during the heat of the day. And if possible, try to dress in those lighter colors rather than darker. Black fabric does get hotter because black colors absorb more heat. You know this. You can also pack a cooling towel. You can get these at most local big box or drugstores for basically nothing. You get them damp, place them around your neck, and you get instant cooling relief. I like those a lot better than I like those round the neck fans too, because those run out of battery, but your cooling towel doesn't. One last note, Disney World trips are not one size fits all. You could end up planning a vacation during picture perfect weather and still have some sort of unexpected situation that trips you up, or you could end up traveling during the time a ride first opens and have the greatest experience ever. Every trip is going to look different from someone else's, so the best thing you can do is plan ahead and make sure you've got backup plans, just in case something doesn't go quite the way you expected. We got tons of planning videos that you can check out next, ranging from easy tricks to help you navigate the parks, travel advice, dining recommendations, and so much more. We are in Disney World every single day, so we can make sure you don't repeat our mistakes and you have an awesome Disney trip. Thanks for listening, everyone. Thanks for watching. If you're not subscribed to the channel, please go ahead and hit subscribe. As always, this is AJ for Disney Food Blog, and we'll see you real soon.